Hello, and we are live, hopefully, with another Just Chatting stream. Those of you that may have wondered how our small hiatus was from YouTube streaming and posting videos and everything like that may have understood that we've had a little bit of a crazy week and a half, 2 weeks actually, I guess at this point. And
The
so,
first week wasn't crazy. The first
yeah,
week was you were vacationing.
yeah, first week was a perfectly normal vacation, but then the second week, that's when everything kind of fell apart. I got sick, so I wasn't able to really, do anything for the past week. We had a friend, Jeff, who's not able to make it tonight. He got an injury. So like without getting into too many details, we had a very insane and trying week last week. So not to trouble anybody with those details, but we're gonna kind of keep it light tonight. We're gonna keep it easy, make sure that we kind of give everybody some updates as to what we're doing over the next few weeks as we try to apparently get back on whatever horse we fell off of. Because man, when we came off that horse, and apparently there was like a tree that we ran into, and it was like a lot of branches, and it was surprisingly tall horse. Is all I can say.
Was surprisingly tall horse. The title of my biography. Surprisingly tall horse.
Surprisingly tall. Hey man, it is what it is. So we're gonna keep tonight kind of short. We just wanted to get back into the live stream to make sure that our computers worked, I guess.
Well, let everybody know that we're not gone. We were just taking a momentary hiatus due to vacation and then life things, and so we just want to let you all know we're still here. Please still like, subscribe, everything else. We'll be back to posting videos soon. It may just be the two of us for a while. Until everybody gets all healed up, unless Mike decides to fist fight with Grandfather Nurgle again, and then
always a chance. Always a chance.
And then maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll do solo streams or something if we have to limp along.
We know that the algorithm is unkind to those people that take too long of a break, so
it'll just be me staring at the camera.
Just be like, okay, subscribe.
Is it working? It'll just be me. Is it working? Is it working?
There have been those like clips of that. There's some super violent video game where it's like that weird face that's in the background. I don't know if you've seen any of those clips where it's basically like a game of roulette with a shotgun, and they
like game that came out.
Yeah, just like on the other side of that, I feel like that's what you would be doing. It's just basically as people would be scrolling through their feed, they'd see and you'd be staring at them.
Yeah, so it'd be fun.
That would be a good time. It would be a good time. So I guess just some quick highlights. We had planned actually to do a few horror themed, maybe Halloween themed. Not necessarily. We're not super into the gimmicky Halloween specific, but we do like to get spooky around this time of year. And so we had thought that we might have a game of the hell is that game? The Electric State. And then Brent was going to run All Flesh Must Be Eaten. But I think we're going to go with an All Flesh Must Be Eaten game first. It may be just me and Brent trying it out, just trying to play through the story. Hopefully it'll be Brent, Jeff, and I getting back into it. But as soon as we figure out what's going to be happening there, we're going to get some characters, explain the system, kind of give an overview as to how flesh is eaten in this All Flesh Must Be Eaten game. And then we'll get into the Electric State afterwards at some point. Obviously, last week I haven't touched a book related to gaming, so anything harder than the game Vampire Survivors was just off the table for me. So I played a lot of Vampire Survivors. Not really played, just sat there for it.
Sat there and
it's
one of those games, right, where it's just like,
well, at a certain point, like if you get enough power-ups, the game just plays itself, and there are you can just kind of like let the game play, and that's kind of what I did. I was like, oh, I'll just check back in on this in a few minutes. So
I'll just let the timer run down. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, the game's got it now.
Let's see. I picked up Call of Cthulhu and Pulp Cthulhu. I didn't have the newest edition Call of Cthulhu.
Oh, really? Is that 7th edition at this point?
Yeah, so I picked up 7th edition, that, and then with it, I picked up Pulp Cthulhu.
Okay.
Which is a modification of the core Call of Cthulhu rules, where you can play kind of more pulpy, Indiana Jonesy.
Okay.
More capable investigators, really, is what it is. Like your pulp heroes, as opposed to just investigators who are going to get eaten by fishmen, probably.
Well, I feel like that's probably the game that a lot of people run into Call of Cthulhu thinking that they're going to get is kind of like, Indiana Jones versus the Eldritch Evil, and what they end up getting is like Bob the accountant versus
Right.
Gnarlitham.
Yeah, yeah. The librarian versus Shoggoth.
and
Yeah,
not,
like
and not like a cool, sexy librarian, but just like a person who happens to have a library card that volunteers on the weekends. Like,
yeah, I accidentally found this Eldritch book. Oh god, I'm being eaten by Shoggoths. Yeah, that's more didn't you kill somebody with a bed in a Call of Cthulhu game?
I'm not going to say they died to the bed. I'm just going to say the bed was the most dangerous thing that happened outside of the evil cultist. It was a surprisingly dangerous encounter to have the bed fly at them. Um, yep, it was just weird, and I think that they lived, but I think it was one of those things where like they got injured, and I was like, "You're surprisingly hurt for what I thought was more of a jump scare." It turned out to be more of like a jump.
Well, flying objects hurt real people. Like if
It's
you're a
true. It's
normal
true.
person and you get hit in the head with something, it's not usually just something you just shake off in reality.
That's true. I mean, that's a fair point, but it was more supposed to be a jump scare, and it turned like I basically bludgeoned them in the head with a bed.
That's like movie physics. I always think it's funny in movie physics. Like even like car crashes always get me. Like how
Mhm.
people just get out of a car crash and they're fine. Even low speed car crashes, like you're just so messed up, like just shocky and sore, even like low speed car crashes. So I think it's always funny. Like Zombieland is one that or where he runs into the pole and like
Mhm.
ejects the zombie out of the front of the car, but like he folds the front of the car around the
Yeah.
pole, and I'm like, that's not one you just open the door and stand and walk out of. Like you'd be so messed up, like physically
You,
and psychologically.
you would be, but I mean, at least they were wearing their seatbelt because that was like one of the rules, right? Always wear your
It's
seatbelt.
true. Always wear your
So,
seatbelt.
I mean, at least he had some measure of safety and precaution against the issues. So, um, but yeah, no, I think that in terms of car physics, I've only been in a few fender benders, and most of them have been not me driving, so I've been the passenger, but I haven't experienced any major long-term whiplash, fortunately enough. Just mostly that bump where you just get surprised, like,
I've been in a couple serious ones
yeah,
as a passenger. That's probably why I don't drive is because of those. Like
hmm,
they messed me up psychologically a little.
yeah,
Um,
I can see that. I can
I
see
was
that.
in one when I was really little where I was in the back of the car and like the seats were folded down. It was the
Mm.
80s. Like people weren't.
Children's seats,
And
seat
and I
belts.
apparently flew from the back and hit the dash, and then was in the passenger seat. Apparently,
See? Safety is seat
and I
belts.
turned out fine.
Yeah, fine. I'll
um,
let me just get that physician's desk manual definition of fine and see how many of those boxes you check. Um, yeah, no, it's you're fine. You're okay. I think
the
you're
funniest
small.
part is, it's on the road that goes right in front of my house. Like
Hmm.
that car accident
What?
happened on this road, so it's really weird living in a small town where it's like, hey, that was a moment that wasn't very good to me, really.
Boy, these streets. I remember on these streets.
But yeah, so but no, like I don't know, movie physics is always interesting.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
can't. I can't say I've actually seen a lot of movies lately. With having a toddler, the evening time and everything like that is a little bit light. So, I mean, I do have movies on my like I have to watch. Like, obviously, I went and saw Dune 2 when it was in the theaters, and I kind of like just said, "Bye, wife. I'll see you later." No. And so I went. I just left the wife and said, "I'm gonna go see a matinee," and she said, "Okay, this is one of those few times when you can just say I'm out of here."
just
And so
throw
I
your
did.
hands up. Just throw your
But
hands up like you're in a rodeo.
yeah, yeah. So mostly I've been just watching like I've been keeping up with a lot of TV shows more than anything. And this is where it gets really dumb because obviously like trying to keep up with all the TV shows is just silly talk. Especially if you're trying to keep up with everything that's on Netflix, Prime, like I feel like I have too many subscriptions because we've cut the cord, but now we've got 40 subscriptions to replace it. It's just stupid.
Cutting the cord is a fallacy. Like, if you want entertainment, unless you're just reading books, you probably haven't cut the cord.
I
Series that we watch, Grotesquerie on Hulu has been interesting.
What's that
Which is
about?
just a weird show. It's about a serial killer, and it just has all of these really strange
Is it like
characters
fictionalized
in it.
or is it like
Yeah, it's a
because
fictional story.
hmm,
It's not true crime. It's good. It's good role playing game inspiration fodder, I think, because the characters are so strange. Like, I could see
hmm,
it being a cult game or an Unknown Armies game pretty easy.
yeah.
You could take inspiration from that. Archive 81. I watched Archive 81 again, all
Ooh,
10
I like
episodes of
that
that,
one.
which was really good. Lovecraftian horror. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think you had mentioned that to me a couple years back, and I was
Mhm.
surprised at how fun it was to watch the show because it was such a. I mean, to me, like I really like the main character was just this like this stuff, weird stuff can't possibly be happening, and it's just stranger and stranger around him. I just there was a lot of good storytelling that happened with that, and that the
Yeah.
using the medium of trying to like restore those tapes
Hmm.
was just a really fun storytelling component as he
It
just
was. It allowed for a lot of like, it allowed for a lot of character progression and characters that aren't ever really on camera, which was
mhm,
really kind of neat. The other one that we watch, that I watch, is From. You heard of that?
what's that one?
It's kind of a cosmic horror one where they, like, the first season, like, they wind up in this town and you just can't leave the town, but these monsters come out at night and just tear people apart.
Okay.
Um, I really enjoy it, but it's one of those shows that I think it's funny because, like, the characters are like, well, that's impossible, and it's like, why would you say that in this situation? Why would you not go like, it could happen, I guess? Like,
Yeah.
because, like, there's monster demons. You can't get out of the town. Like, when you try to drive out of town, it just loops
Mhm.
back on you. Like, and
Oh,
all this weird stuff happens all the time. It's like, why would you just be like, well, that's not possible? Why would you even say that? Why? Like, that this place is strange, and so, like, nothing seems out of the realm of possibility at this point, in my opinion.
yeah. Yeah, no, I think you've definitely, whenever you mention one of those strange shows, I usually try to at least catch a little bit of it. So, I mean, that's where I caught Archive 81 because you had said something
Yeah,
about it, and
that's an
you said you
excellent
had
show.
liked it quite a bit. And actually, while I wasn't feeling as good, I actually just sat down and just binge sat near the TV. Like I wasn't really 100% focused on it, but I watched. Apparently, Zack Snyder had Twilight of the Gods. It was a animated series that came out just a couple weeks
Mhm.
ago, and it was pretty good. I have to say that it was not the show that I was expecting. Then again, I was didn't really know what to expect. I kind of wish it would have just been one season. Like that'd have been a nice tight story if they would have
Mhm.
done that, but they decided they were gonna do the teaser for extra seasons and have that kind of go off and do its own thing. But yeah, it was fun. It was violent. It was intense. A lot of good time. A good time.
That is sounds like excellent. What is it called? What is it
It's
called again?
called Twilight of the Gods.
Twilight of the God.
Yeah, and Thor was an absolute asshole in the show, which is kind of what made he was the heel for the entire series thus far. So it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it quite a bit. The machinations of Loki were on full display. The characters were in this kind of this macabre play of the gods and how everything was moving according to somebody's whim. You're not exactly sure, or are you? It was a good time. I enjoyed it.
For the record, I accidentally looked up Twilight of the Dogs, which is a very different movie, but a movie.
This is this is where you it was where you like I went to go watch the Super Bowl, but ended up watching puppies for 4 hours.
Yeah, I
Just like
accidentally
the
watched the
puppy bowl.
Puppy Bowl for 4 hours. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, so interesting. Weird. But yeah, it sounds good. I heard
yeah,
Chaos is good, another Netflix show that's pretty good, but I haven't
yeah,
watched yet. I've heard it's good.
yeah. It's on my watch list. Mostly, I because I had just seen Twilight of the Gods, I was kind of giving myself a small break from God themed shows, like Pantheon themed. But I did watch the preview for it, and it looks pretty amazing. I was just a little bit disappointed because, from what I could tell, it's already been canceled. Like the second
Yeah,
season.
it seems like they don't do 2 seasons of things anymore.
Well, or it's got.
My
I think it
current
just
theory.
has to have overwhelming popularity, or like it just doesn't get a chance. Like I think the days of having 3 seasons to really get your feet under you is.
Yeah, because like Archive 8081 didn't get a second season either.
Were they
Which I was
planning on a
very, which,
second season for that?
yeah, there was supposed to be. There's 3 seasons of the podcast that it's based on, and I think they were planning on telling the whole story. So it's kind of disappointing that they didn't get any more
Love than they did.
Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah. Otherwise, I've just have been keeping up with my anime of the new season. I can't say there's anything that's really jumping out at me right now, except for there's a really weird one. What the fuck is it called? I think it's on Netflix. Let me look real quick. Yeah. There is one called Dan. I think that's the name of it. Like, because Japanese names are a little bit weird, and that one was just super strange. But if my memory serves, it's basically boy meets girl, but like boy believes in the like paranormal, and she believes in the occult, and so like he believes in aliens, she believes in ghosts. And it's just a weird story from there because they basically do a dare to each other. And so she ends up finding aliens and he ends up finding a ghost. It's very strange.
that is very strange.
Hijinks ensue. Very strange hijinks ensue. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if it goes. But that's another thing. Ranma One Half. Do you remember that show, or do you know what that is?
I have heard of Ranma, yeah.
Apparently, they decided to just redo a 2024 reboot of it. So it's weird.
Solid. Speaking of reboots, I watched the Salem's Lot reboot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and on HBO Max. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I do wonder why vampire hunters in fiction are the dumbest people in the world. Like, why do you decide to do errands until 6 o'clock at night and then go hunt the vampire? Like, I feel like vampire hunting is a 6 a.m. Story, not a 6 p.m. story when the sun's going down. I feel like you're setting yourself up for failure a little bit.
You mean going and finding a vampire when they're at their strongest?
Exactly.
What could possibly go wrong?
Exactly. Like, go find them when they're asleep, man. Like, I don't know what your problem is.
I feel like that tells a terrible story, though. You're like, oh, I had to go to the DMV today, so I couldn't go find the vampire during the day. That's why Van Helsing didn't get.
That's why the vampires always win. It's because they're like, I had to clean the toilet for 6 hours today before I went out and hunted vampires.
Yeah, my dishwasher was broken.
Your priorities are a little wonky. I do really like it. If you watch Salem's Lot, anybody, my favorite character in the show is the kid in it, who's like 11 years old, and he's like, I'm gonna go fuck up some vampires, and they're like, you're 11, and he's like, yeah, but I made a promise.
Jesus.
Yeah, that kid's awesome. Like, the actor plays it so well, and like the character's written really, really good. I did enjoy that immensely. But the adults are all dumb. Like, the adults are all dumb as shit. Like, just dumb.
Well, did you watch the new Ghostbusters Frozen Empire?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, like, I usually don't mind kind of like offbeat comedic characters, but even like for me, what is it? Camille Nanjiani's character was just too much. Like, all of a sudden we have a firebender.
Oh yeah, that guy
was like,
and he plays that character in like almost everything. Some flavor of that character that I've seen him in.
Yeah.
Like, and so yeah, it's just like, yeah, like there's just super like, again, it's one of those characters like, nah, that can't be real. And it's like, you've seen ghosts, like you've You've seen a ghost at this point in this movie, and you're like, nah, I don't think that's possible.
Yeah. Well, and it was just I thought Frozen Empire, like, it seemed like it could be okay, and then it just, like, really was just like, "And the evilest evil of all the evils shows up, and we're done." And I was like, "Whoa,
Did
whiplash."
have an abrupt ending. It's true. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but partially for nostalgia's sake.
Mhm.
But yeah, it did have a really abrupt ending.
No, there was some good stuff in there. Like, I thought, having some of the old characters back, having a new generation, I don't mind that kinda stuff as much as, um, some people out there would be, uh out there expressed, but like I thought it was okay, but like I said, it just was a lot of setup for like not a lot of payoff in my
Right.
opinion. Like
Right.
it could have been a two-part show and I would have been happier, I guess. But
Everyone should go watch Real Ghostbusters, the Saturday morning cartoon that they used to have. That was amazing.
mm. Were you thinking about doing a Ghostbusters game at some point? Did you?
No.
No.
No. No. I just like the Real Ghostbusters cartoon, and I don't feel like enough people have seen it.
That's fair. I don't
A
think I
lot of
remember it.
inspiration for horror games and that stuff, though, because it's fairly well written.
Is it? I don't
Yeah.
think I don't know the last time I actually saw an episode of it. So well,
I own the anthology. I own like all the seasons of it on DVD still. It's
oh really?
brilliant. Yeah.
Huh. Well, that's fair. It went from 1986 to 1991. Huh,
Hmm.
that's pretty insane. Not gonna
It's
lie.
an excellent show. Excellent show.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that in terms of being able to remember a lot of these shows, I don't remember them. Like for real Ghostbusters, I don't remember it. I did start
Some of the
watching Flintstones recently. That was a bad idea. That's a
yeah, they're all pretty much the same. They're not very interesting.
well, I wouldn't say that they're not interesting, except for the fact that like I just didn't realize how much of an asshole Fred is.
Oh
Like
yeah, he's terrible.
oh, he's like a horrible person. Like,
Hmm.
I'm gonna blow my wife off so I can go bowling. Like, I mean, I only got 2 episodes in, and I'm like, I don't know if I want my little kid to see this guy.
Probably
Mod
not the Flintstones. Probably
yeah,
the Flintstones probably isn't a very good cartoon.
no, no. If people like the Flintstones, that's more power to you. But I thought that there were questionable choices they made with their character development.
Well, those are like from the 1960s, right?
Yeah, something like that. So
Yeah,
shows you.
I mean, I'm not saying the cartoons should all be progressive, but there's some things that definitely sneak into early cartoons that probably, excuse me, aren't fantastic.
It's true. It's true. That's okay though. So no Ghostbusters RPG for this guy then.
No, there is a Ghostbusters RPG out there, but I think it's kind of hard to find. Um,
Yeah.
but uh, but no, I don't think so. Um, RPGs, I think we like you said, Electric State. I think is a good one to look at.
Mhm.
What are the ones do we have on the docket that I'm looking forward to playing? I want to run another Delta Green game at some point.
Yeah.
Um, I
Are,
have a few ideas hanging out there. Yeah.
are you thinking that you because I think Astro Prisma, I do have a playable version of it, but I don't think I have a multiple playable version of it because it's I think that's the GM list. I think it was GM list what they decided to do because originally it was a solo RPG, kind
Mhm.
of hex crawl and everything like that, but they hit a stretch goal, and instead it's going to be I think it's a GM-less game, so they can have more than one person on it. 'Cause that could be kind of fun. I don't know if it's the final products out, but I think they have the base book available in PDF on there. So I was hoping.
That might be an interesting idea if it's just the two of us for a bit
Mhm,
to see.
yeah. But then there was something else. What else was there? I don't remember. Obviously, we could be playing the new D&D game, but we're not.
I think it's bad that you even brought it up, frankly.
Well, I had to, just for old time's sake.
It seems
Um,
like people are more happy with it than they thought.
which the new D&D?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but I think you've talked about it before. I mean, it is D&D, so if you inherently like D&D, you'll probably like the new version of D&D, whether or not, you get a critical analysis of it from us is a different story. But
Whether or not you should is what Mike's saying. Whether or not you should like it.
what? Yeah, who cares? You like D&D? Play D&D.
I know it was a joke. No, we've said all the time we want everybody to play games that they like. It's just
We're slightly
there's
critical of D&D.
there was a big discourse that started on Twitter again about like somebody said like I think other people should basically not everybody. Oh, it said D&D's a war game. That's what the guy said. Basically, like the long and short of it was D&D's a war game that has narrative stuff thrown on top, which technically is true, but
Yeah.
it made some people very angry because they're like, oh, you can tell good stories in D&D. And it's like we always say, the point isn't that you can't. The point is that sometimes better stories can be told in other systems. Like there's like just limiting yourself to D&D for everything is the problem, I think. And I think that's what the guy was basically trying to say, but
decided to start a Twitter fight over it.
Yeah, he earned no friends with his phrasing, I feel.
That's okay though. That is okay. I mean, honestly,
I was just surprised at how like one statement, like if you use miniatures, it is more like a war game for sure. And that's what we talked about this before. I've said, if I wanted miniatures and hyper tactical combat or whatever, I would play 40K or something. That's not why I play role playing games.
I think
if you like that, that's your thing. Yeah, you can. But if you like that, that's your thing. But it's not my focus.
So. Yeah. But yeah, I'm actually surprised because I think with just having a week off and kind of being sick, I've just been like, I have not even thought about various horror games or anything like that to play or anything. So I'd be curious as to what everybody else is playing out there for this Halloween season. Like, do you have a Halloween game that you do? Like, because I obviously, we've talked about how 5th edition kind of being heroic fantasy doesn't make for the easiest Halloween scary story to tell. But there are a lot of people that have tried to create scary modules for the system. Like the Haunting is supposed to be a pretty well received version, and I actually looked at it. I picked it up and looked at it. I think that's an empty black one, but that one was been pretty well received. I just hadn't looked this year, so I know that we have that
go ahead.
French game that came over too, right? What is that, Arthur?
Avalon and a Knight's Story, something like that.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked at that very much either. That seems to be a pretty heavy combat. I mean, you're basically a superhero murdering
eldritch horrors and
rifts monsters. Which, more power to you. It's got some cool art in it, which is one of the reasons I picked it up. So yeah, that I don't know, like D&D you can play, like of course you can play a horror game in it. Your just focus needs to not be on combat. Your focus needs to be on other stuff that your characters don't do as well as combat. And it depends what you're doing. Like psychological horror doesn't require any combat really. Like
yeah.
But it is harder because if you do have player characters that are we'll just use violence to solve this problem, then that's going to become a slightly different game. Or your horror game is going to change in tone fairly quickly if they're Ash from Evil Deading everything.
And I have to say that I kind of wish I would have liked. Side note: I wish I would have liked Mothership more than I did, because that's like an easy straight to horror game, right?
Are you taking a firm stance on you didn't like it?
I don't know. I feel like there's something about it that just there, and it might, and honestly, it's probably one of those games where you just need to play more than once to really like, get a full range of experience with it, because we just had failed so much in our own adventure that it was just like hard to really feel like
there was a lot of bad rules in that game.
There were. So I mean, and maybe that and I mean it led to its own experience, but does that make it's just one of those ones where it's like Mothership, because that's always like an easy, everyone likes Mothership.
Oh
for
yeah,
their
yeah.
horror games.
It's a super popular game for any sort of space horror.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking I might want to try Death in Space. Is that the other one? Is who makes Death in Space?
There's
Is that
Death in
Osprey?
Space is the Morkborg like one. You're talking about Those Dark Places is the Osprey
Those
one.
those dark places.
Yep.
Uh,
Death in Space is the Morkborg one. And we say that because like all three of these games like came out kind of at the same time,
mhm.
and they're all kind of that space trucker alien aesthetic kind of game, which is interesting that they all came out at the same time.
Yeah. Well, it feels like they came out, or at least they were all out together when we were starting to look at them. And
Oh
it
no,
feels,
they all seem to have hit about this just the same time.
oh yeah,
Weirdly, I think Mothership was first, and then I think through Those Dark Places, and then Death in Space came after Morkborg. But they all kind of had the same flavor in like a very short period of time. Short period of time being like within a couple year, like a year or so, I think.
yeah. It's always interesting how that kind of stuff happens, where suddenly, like, all of a sudden, one person thinks about it, and then everyone's like, you know what, we should do a VeggieTales. Like,
Yeah, grandma's drinking tea and fighting Cthulhu monsters. We should definitely make a game like that.
yeah, and then all of a sudden you have several people doing it. I don't know what that's called, but I've seen it happen in a lot of different industries where all of a sudden, like, two or three people have the same story, same movie, whatever it is. Obviously, some look like they have bigger budgets than others, but
Right.
yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, there's just something about like the spirit of the time, like
Hmm.
just hits right. And people are like, "This is what we need to produce."
Yeah, I have to say
I
though.
Those Dark Places looks interesting, and it has its own, like I said, Space Marines spin-off where you can be
Mhm,
not Space Marines, Colonial Marines, I guess. And then Death in Space is more weird, and it has more base building elements in it. It has that you build your ship thing in it, which is
mhm,
kind of a big deal.
yeah. You know, I have to say, so one of the things that I just pulled up here, is that I did pull up the RPG suggestions page from the
Mhm.
RPG subreddit, and they have general horror games with special mechanics, horror supplements, Lovecraftian horror, science fiction horror, Worlds of Darkness, Chronicles of Darkness, 2023, 2022, 2021. I don't know what that means in this case. I wonder if that's just
Are they suggestions for the year, or are those games that they're saying?
well, let's take a look. Well, I don't even know what the SCP Foundation setting. I don't know what that is.
SCP Sound Foundation is, like creepypasta stories like Slenderman and stuff like that.
Hmm.
SCP kind of came out of that, where people like modern myth horror things, and it's a organization that supposedly captures them. It
Collaborative.
started out as it started out as an internet thing.
Oh, okay. Well, so it says in 2020, Vaesen, Nordic horror role playing, Strange Tales of Songling, an adventure in
I
the
haven't heard.
world haunted by fox spirits, hopping vampires, and ghosts. What does it have to do with 2020? Hmm. Maybe that's any game. Is that
Maybe.
now? I'm curious. This is how Mike's brain like functions.
I don't know. Hopping vampires is always interesting when you run into that old. I can't remember what part of Asia it's from, but the hopping vampires, because their bodies are so stiff, they just pogo around.
Yep. So I looked at the 2020 nominees and winners, and this Tales of the Songlings is not. Strange Tales of Songling is not on there. So
I mean, that's just
I'm
when it came out.
maybe it just seems like such a strange, like, 2020 and then this game. I don't know. I'm looking for deeper meaning, and obviously the meaning doesn't exist. Fate of Cthulhu, Fallen Stars, a survival horror tabletop RPG with a unique dark fantasy setting. I feel like anybody that says unique dark fantasy setting is lying to you at this point.
Yeah, Tales of Songlings came out in January of 2020, so that's probably what it is.
Hmm. Let's see. Fallen Stars is a survival horror tabletop RPG with a unique dark fantasy setting, focusing on horde-sized threats that cannot be fought alone, if at all. Hmm. Okay, interesting. But it was in 2020, so maybe you're right. Maybe those are just literally games that came out in 2020, and that's just the first year they decided to start
Well, on
doing something.
drive-through, that's what it says. It's like added to the catalog 2020.
Yeah. So the In Between by Jason Cordova, powered by the Apocalypse, tabletop game about a group of mysterious monster hunters in Victoria and era London. When the Moon Hangs Low, a gothic action game inspired by Bloodborne Darkest Dungeon. Hmm. Is that horror though? When you have those kind of games, I don't know. Maybe
It's goth, like yeah, Bloodborne and Darkest Dungeon are pretty gothy horror.
Candle Obscura. Ooh.
Sure, I guess that's a horror game.
I mean, it could be. You could use it to tell horror stories. Like the story
It's
that they ran you one shot with was kind of scary.
it's a lot of it's very pulpy though. More so than scary, I feel. But then again, like I said, I don't know. Talking to me about horror games is a little weird.
Yeah, I kind of like the Old Gods of Appalachia. I did pick that up because I originally thought of doing that one, but I started reading it and I just did not get into that game, get into the game at all. Like
Is it the Cipher System or is it
it
the
is.
Appalachians?
Well, it's that. Well, I think it's based on the cipher system. So
I mean, as to why you didn't like it, is it the Cipher System or
I
is
think
it
it is the
setting?
cipher system. Like the setting seemed fine and the stories seemed okay, but I think just because of how and maybe I'm just not understanding the cipher system enough to like really be a fanboy of it or anything like that. But as I was reading the adventures that they had for it, that kind of tells me how the gameplay feels and all that stuff. I just was like, this just doesn't feel like a good horror game. Like it felt like an odd idea, but I think there were so many rules and stuff that I was like, oh,
The
okay.
Cipher System's pretty crunchy, so I was kind of surprised when they had that kind of game in the Cipher System because it's like I said, it's pretty crunchy, really.
Yeah, it felt that way. I mean, I'm gonna still probably try to read through the book and try to get an idea about it. So if people really like the cipher system, more power to you. I just didn't like it. Just didn't feel like it lent itself to a very interesting story for me.
Yeah, and tell us why you like the Cipher System. What about it drew you in? I've tried Numenera, but I like Numenera more for the system, and the more that or more for the setting. And the more wacky the setting got, the more like I started to distance myself from enjoying it.
Yeah,
Like when they started introducing like tons of just alien species and stuff like that you could play, it was like I liked it when it was just humans.
yeah. But what is the Numenera system? Because I feel like the Numenera
Numenera
system
was
was.
the first Cipher system.
Yeah. Is it like sci fantasy then? Is that what I'm
Yeah. Yeah, Numenera is the setting is sci fantasy. Yeah.
yeah.
Built on the dust of like 7 ages before. It's like billions of years in the future.
Hmm. That's fair. Yeah. We and I have to say that because I think we only have we have a friend that follows the Old Gods of Appalachia. And I think he really wanted to play it. So I still kind of want to run something for him. Um but I don't think I've ever actually played a game in the Cypher system in any of the settings or anything like that. So
No, I don't think you did. I don't think I ran it once
mhm.
for two people and I don't remember what two people they were, so I don't know if it was I wasn't that enamored of it.
It wasn't me. So I mean, and it's one of those things where, and this is where it's kind of funny, where as we talk about D&D isn't the catch-all for every setting. Well, maybe somebody does a faithful adaptation of the Cipher system into like Powered by the Apocalypse or something,
Right.
or not the Cipher system, but Old Gods of Appalachia
Old gods.
in a PBT game.
It could be you. Get
I don't
that
have
get
enough
that
time.
get that conversion out there.
I could, you could easily run something like that, and if you felt like you had enough understanding of the system, I think you could easily take Monster of the Week and do something with that and tell those same stories there pretty easily. So I don't think it'd be that hard. But yeah,
I
so
mean, conversion's always hard. It's always more work than you think it's going to be anytime you start.
mhm.
And like sometimes you're super passionate about it for a while, but then it just gets old after a while. Like you're like, should
Yeah.
just play the original game.
Have you ever played a gumshoe horror game?
Gumshoe is Knights of Black Agents is based off the Gumshoe system.
Oh, okay.
I haven't played in a game. I've watched it played and I've read quite a bit about it.
Yeah.
The resource usage, the resource crunch is a little interesting because it's a lot about like how you use your resources.
Hmm.
But Gumshoe is kind of philosophically an interesting investigation game because they're basically like, yeah, if you know it, you know it. Like it's not about finding the clues. It's about how you interact with the story after you know what you know.
Okay. Because I was looking at since I'm still looking at this list, I see that there's Esoterrorist Second Edition, and Fear Itself, and both of those are by Robin Laws, and they're both gumshoe horror role playing. So
I forgot about Esoterrorist. Like that game, the title of that game makes me laugh every time I read it. Just because it's such a ridiculous word.
Esoterrorist,
Yes.
a loose affiliation of occult terrorists intent on tearing the fabric of the world. That's the description
Yeah.
from Drive Through RPG. Kind
Yeah.
of reminds me.
Go ahead.
There was a show my wife likes to watch. It was the Librarian. I just feel like do you know what that show is? The Librarian.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I feel like that's kind of what you'd be running is the Librarians a little bit, but potentially with more horror themes. I don't know.
Yeah, I tried to watch that show a couple times and I kind of just bounced off of it.
Wife loves it a lot, like super loves it. And it's one of those shows that's kind of in her repeat playlist, where she'll just once every couple years just blow through the entire show. I mean, for her, it's like Haven. I think that's the show, the horror
Mhm.
thing that was on Sci-Fi, Warehouse 13, and the Librarians. And because they just hit these specific itches for the stuff that she likes, and she wishes there was better shows out there for it, but that's what she gets. She loves Warehouse 13. It's good premise, just B plus execution.
I've heard people like it's one of those shows that if people like it, they really like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she watches it pretty frequently. So and now she's trying to get into different audiobooks because I like Dungeon Crawler Carl, but I've only listened to it like the series as far as it's out twice. She's listened to it several times. She's like, I need more audiobooks. I'm like,
Well, yeah, you find stuff that you like and you just kind of attach to it. Like I do that with stuff too.
Oh my god! But Jeff Hayes has kind of ruined me for um, other narrators. I'm not gonna lie, I just can't. Like I'm listening to his stuff. When I listen to him in Dungeon Crawler Carl, it's just like fantastic. And then I go and listen to some random audiobook, and it's like, nope, not Jeff Hayes. Just not the same caliber. So
Just not good enough for me.
They're still good at what they do, but it's like, for example, Scalzi does. It's like I think Scalzi for whatever reason has Will Wheaton as his like exclusive narrator for his books, and I was like, I don't mind Will Wheaton, but when you go from Jeff Hayes to Will Wheaton just is not as good.
Right. Well, it's
and
just different.
It is, but like Jeff Hayes, when you listen to like Carl, that's the main experience I have with him. I've listened to a couple other things that he's been in, but like his range, because he does like all the voices in it, it is just crazy to watch him go between his different voices and kind of like adds depth to the story through characterization like that. It's so neat. What was it? Kaiju? What was the one that Will Wheaton read?
Got me.
Kaiju Scalzi. I think it's just called Kaiju. It's Kaiju Preservation Society by John Scalzi. It's a pretty interesting book, and it's just weird because like, is it Wesley Crusher? Is that who Will Wheaton plays on Star Trek?
Was who Will Wheaton played. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't really watch a lot of Star Trek, but it feels like every book that I've listened to has just got the same Will Wheaton voice in it. Like that's
he was famous for Stand By Me before that though. So
Stand By Me. What's that?
Stand By Me the movie? You've never seen Stand By Me? Where
Uh,
it's teenage coming of age movie where the kids are going to find a dead body.
oh,
Yeah,
that is that a
he was in that first. It's a movie, but it's a Stephen King adaptation.
was he? Huh. Yeah. I
Yes, he
think it's been
was.
I know I've seen it, but my brain doesn't remember much about it, unfortunately. And it's because I remember
It
Corey
would
Feldman
surprise
in
me
it.
if you haven't seen Stand By Me. Like, yep, Corey Feldman's in it.
Yeah,
There's
really
a bunch of
famous people
like
in it. Yeah.
childhood actors.
Starring
Yeah.
Will Wheaton, River Phoenix, Corey Feldman, Jerry O'Connell, and Kiefer Sutherland.
Yep, Jerry O'Connell was the one. Yep, and Kiefer Sutherland is the bully in it. Yep.
Hmm. It's crazy to think that that movie is old enough to have Kiefer Sutherland is. Yeah. Okay, moving on.
Well,
Ah,
I mean, yeah, it's an old movie at this point. Yeah.
it's true. It's true. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much all I got for it. So I'll have to go watch it again. Apparently, I cannot remember movies from like that I've watched 30,
It's a
40.
it's a it's a classic.
Yeah, 40 years ago. I say like I watched this when I was like 2. I'm not that old. 30 years ago, 25 years ago. How about that?
I've probably seen it more recently than that. Probably 10 years ago. Probably I watched Stand By Me again.
Oh, did you?
And there's definitely parts in it that I remember vividly, like the train when they're running from the train
Hmm.
on the bridge. Like that stands out as a scene that like it's a pivotal scene.
You tend to rewatch a lot of stuff. I mean, you said you watched Archive 81, but do you just like pop in an old movie and go back through it every so often, or what do you?
Yeah, I do. I also reread books, which is something I realize not a lot of people do. Like if
Mhm.
I really enjoy a book, like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I think I read one. I might read it every year, and I might even read it more than
Oh,
that.
really?
Yeah, like certain books that I feel are like have been influential to my brain and my being.
Hmm.
I have a tendency to reread. Like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I've reread multiple times.
Hmm.
Last Call, the Tim Powers book.
Okay.
I've read that multiple times. Desperation, I've reread a couple times. Just books that I find influential to, I don't know, core parts of my personality. I have a tendency. Same with movies. Like there's movies that I don't ever have to watch again because I've seen them so many times that I don't always
You mean
rewatch.
Velocipaster?
But there are movies that I really like Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I don't have to watch that because I can remember pretty much the whole movie verbatim.
Okay.
Apparently between the ages of like 6 and 12, like I watched that movie millions of times according to my parents. Killer Clowns from Outer Space, I don't have to watch that very often. I still do, but I remember that most of them pretty well. So
Yeah.
yeah, but there are comfort, but I mean, like I don't know, certain personality types have like comfort movies, like comfort
Hmm.
shows that you turn on. But there are things that I find, and then if I think they're inspirational, like Archive 81, I feel like there's a lot in it that you could draw for writing like a Delta Green game or a Call of Cthulhu game. So if I
Okay.
feel like there's something that I'm kind of looking for inspiration on stuff like that, and I know there's a thread of that in something, I'll watch it again and be like and
Sure.
take notes on like the parts that I might want to use.
Hmm.
Um, Either on my phone or like mental notes of parts that I want to use. So yeah, I probably do rewatch quite a bit. I ingest a lot of media, I think, just in general, which is kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that,
Um,
I'm not sure if that's as weird anymore. It feels like, because I think where I lose a lot of my time I lose it to doom scrolling, just hit Reddit and just scroll up until scrolling up and all that kind of stuff. But like, it's like I listen to books, play video games, write stuff for games and all that kind of stuff. But past that, it's like, I think we just consume a lot more media unless you're getting out of your house, which is that a thing? Do people get out of the house anymore? I don't know. I do sometimes. Not right now though.
yeah, I don't get out as much as I used to. I don't know when you're in your 40s, like Hi, Monk.
Hey, Mike.
But yeah, like I don't know, like when I say ingest media, I just mean like I don't know. Like I know people watch TV a lot, but I usually watch movies and I read a lot. Um, just in general, because it
Mhm.
keeps my brain occupied with something other than existential terror. So
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. And you always have to catch up with all the good movies. Iron Sky 1 through 4 now. Is that how many there are?
oh my god, you brought up Iron Sky. I don't think I've seen all of the first one.
Well, I know that there's at least one Iron Sky, but are there
There
more than one?
is. I'm sure there's two, but I don't know how many there are for sure. And I've only watched part of the first one because it's not very good.
I didn't get very far. I don't remember where it was, but it was on one of the streaming services, and I tried to watch it, and I was like, ugh.
Iron Sky is one of those movies that you don't expect to come up in conversation ever.
Oh, maybe there's only two because it looks like in the wake of the sequel's release and its copyright dispute,
Weird.
Nazis on the Moon is with copyrighted. Okay.
I guess.
Blind Spot Pictures, the main production company for Iron Sky, declared bankruptcy on September 17, 2019. Iron Sky Universe, another production company involved in creating the franchise for a would-be third film of the Coming Races sequel, also filed for bankruptcy in October 2020. Wow.
Iron Sky, not a cash cow, I guess is what you're saying.
It does feel as though maybe there weren't as many fans as they thought there would be. Finnish German? I didn't realize that was Finnish German. But yeah.
As in a
Um,
co-production or as in a language?
well as in like I don't know what word was I? It just said it was a I don't know, whatever. I don't have enough brain cells tonight to really debate you on Finnish German topics.
I'm not. It's not a debate. It was a question. uh,
Yeah, my brain power is unfortunately I've reached the end of my gas tank because obviously uh I haven't had to think this hard for a week or so.
it's
It was
true.
crazy.
It's been a bit. So yeah, misadventures, Monk. Misadventures. That's what's been a thing for us the last few weeks. So we're probably going to keep tonight short. Mike is still recovering from his fist fights with plague demons.
Yeah, it
Um,
was tough. It's tough. It took most of my beard. It was that bad. Yeah,
I saw it did.
yeah. Woke
Well,
up one
my
day and it
adventure,
was gone.
mine turned mine mostly gray. So you know,
Yep. And then obviously Jeff is going to be with us another time down the road, but we're not sure when um he'll be able to make it back. It'll be probably soon. Just he's got some stuff to work through right now.
yep. So
Yeah.
nothing bad. He's fine. Everybody, don't panic. We just don't know what he wants out or anything, so we're not gonna discuss it
Yeah.
too much. But he's good. Yeah, and then I'm hoping less doggo stress for myself moving
Yeah.
forward.
So it will, and we're not sure we're actually going to be on a regular cadence yet, but we're going to try to get back to a regular cadence pretty quick. So
Yeah, hopefully it'll at least maybe it will might just be the two of us for at least a couple days, couple sessions. If Mike can, like I said, kick his coughing habit.
I'm getting old, man. I'm getting old. I feel like I'm just like I run around chasing after my toddler, and I'm like, and I just like wheeze after him. It's
So funny thing about Morgan is he couldn't bark the first few days he got
mm,
back because of the pneumonia. Like he couldn't get a full set of lung to caw to bark. So he'd run to the fence and then look depressed and tired and then walk back to the porch and come inside.
just be like, next time I'll get you.
Yeah, I'm leaving.
I'm leaving now. So that's fair. Poor Morgan.
It
Morgan
was
is Brent's
especially my
companion
dog.
dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a rough go of it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. So I don't think I have anything else to chat about tonight, unfortunately. So any questions from the
no,
bullpen?
Just Monk saying hi, I think. If anybody has anything, we'll give you a few seconds to chime in. We're glad to see our 5 or 6 viewers. I think it's probably the regular crew. Thank you, everybody. Thank you,
Yep.
Monk.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you're sorry to hear that you're in pain right now. I was just going back to the chat. It sucks
Yeah, I
you.
feel better, Monk. I know you got a lot going on. Hopefully, you get past it and heal up
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah, we're a lot of commiseration could be had here tonight. Let's just
Yeah. Last week was cursed. I'm fairly certain last week was a curse upon everyone I know. But anyways, thank you
Yeah.
everybody for joining us. We appreciate hanging out and chatting with us just for a little bit.
Have we
Yeah.
been tracking anything on the broken empires? Let me jog my memory.
I haven't, but we'll go check it out.
RPG. Let's see. I think I did see something on this on Reddit. Yeah, I did. I looked at this. But my brain has been a bit of jello, so I haven't really dug in too deep. So because I remember the me, myself, and die.
Interesting. I'll check it out. I'll read about it too.
Yeah, I mean, we can take a look at it. Maybe we'll talk about it later this week. Give our
Yeah.
thoughts on it and everything like that. Because it does look as though very strong showing. Looks like it was funded in 5 minutes. So, and I don't know anything about the me, myself, and die channel or anything like that, but it sounds like they probably got a good following and they're pretty solid in what they know. So,
Yeah, sounds cool.
detailed, dangerous, and not always lethal. Okay. Well, thank you. We'll take a look at it and see what what our feelers are on it. So
Yeah, thank you for suggesting it. We appreciate it.
yeah.
All right. I think
Okay.
that's all for us. Thank you everybody for hanging out.
Yeah, thank you. It was good to get back on here, and
Get back on
like
the
I
very
said,
tall horse.
we're gonna get back on the tall horse, and we'll see you guys and everybody soon. So take care.
Thank you, everybody.